feel like at a certain point, like I don't know how tall people are anymore. I measured. Ever since I moved here to like Austin, I've measured people in like Corey. Like that should be like a height thing where it's like
how many Corys can.
Like, are you taller than the Corey? If you're taller than the Corys, then like you're about like, I don't know, you're anywhere from 5'7" to like infinite. You know, you could be as tall as however tall you want to be. But then if you're shorter than them, then I noticed that and I'm like, okay, you're shorter than the Corys. But my mom is shorter than the Corys, so I think she's like 5'5", 5'4". I'm not sure.
Okay, that's a good height.
Yeah, I kind of wish sometimes I wasn't as tall.
My estranged father is a mega manlet.
A mega manlet, you say?
Yeah, he's like 5'7".
Really? Is he actually?
I think he's probably even shorter now because he's like 70 years old, so he's probably
he shrunk.
Probably like 5'4". But
damn.
No, yeah, he's always been shorter than my mom. He's one of those dads where he's
a short king.
I'm not gonna lie, there was a point where there was this is like a, you know, dive into the mentality of a young Aksually, right? But you know, I think a lot of people that had older dads kind of had this problem where you reach a point where when you're really young, you're a little bit ashamed of how old your father is. So you don't tell people how old he is. I had that, and I also had that with his height for some reason. So I would tell people that he's like 6 foot.
Damn.
So they're like, yeah, my dad is 6 foot, but in reality he was like 5'7", 5'8".
Damn, you really catfish your dad. You're catfishing your own father.
I kind of did, yeah. I did, yeah. So that's my little, you know, confession of today.
Wow.
Really.
Catfishing your father's height.
Welcome back to COOLDOG, the #1 podcast in Greenland. We're making waves over there. People are going crazy for it.
Big up Greenland. Big up Greenland.
How are you today, Hooverr?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. You know, I just got done playing FIFA for a few hours. I played against one of the worst players I think I've ever seen, and I drew against him. So I didn't even win. I drew against him, and there was a point where when I was playing this person, I was thinking, this has to be a joke. Like, this person has to be mocking me because they were so bad that they accidentally were really good. You know what I mean? Like, they had no idea what they were doing. All their players were magically just like fumbling over into the right positions, right in front of the ball, always taking the ball off me. I actually went 2-0 up, and then it was a 2-2 draw in the end. So
you threw the damn game.
I threw pretty hard. I'm starting to realize something, and that might be that I don't think I'm very good.
Yeah. I mean, you just said that you faced a worse player and you drew with him, so I mean, I don't want to say anything.
I guess I'm tied for worst player ever.
Damn, you're so bad you can't even be the worst player ever. You're tied for it. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, the only thing I'm good for is playing FIFA with my friends that never play FIFA and then beating the shit out of them and then acting like I'm like a school bully, basically, is what I am.
Yeah, because I love games like that where you can just like fucking take a friend and be like, hey, I play this game kinda, and then you like have 3,000 hours in it and you just fucking destroy them every game, and then it's like, I'm the best.
Yeah, no, literally, that's the only reason why I have any sort of a skill at it, is just because I've been playing it for so long in my life. Like I go on and off with it, but like I'm just not incredible in any way, you know.
Yeah.
So, but what happens? It's tough, you know. FIFA really ruins my mental health. I think it kind of makes me hate myself.
It's not gonna lie, like out of all the games I used to play, I mean, I don't really even play FIFA that much, but like when I was like probably like 2014, 2015, when FIFA 15 came out, I was like some of the angriest I've been at like some FIFA matches against people where I was just like fucking losing my shit constantly.
It's just a really frustrating game.
Dude, why am I
hiccuping?
Dude, we're like both having like something wrong with us. I'm like crying, you're hiccuping. It always happens to me for some reason. Where like if I'm like talking or like focusing on something, then like sometimes I just tear up. But it's like I don't know how it happens. I've looked it up and I'm like, I haven't seen anyone talk about it. It's weird.
Maybe you're just a really emotional person.
No, I am, dude. I talked about it the other day. How there's this one cat on TikTok named like Butter. I think it's like Butter Chicken or Butter Chicken something. I don't know. It's like this cat with like this like I don't know if it's like a disease or something, or like it has something where like it can't walk properly, and every night I get like a TikTok live of the owner feeding it in like its little cute like wheel harness thing. And one night like I saw it like for like the first time, and I just like started crying. I was like, this poor cat, like I feel so bad for him. So I was just like, I just felt bad for the cat. Like cats don't deserve that. Like out of every fucking creature, like they don't deserve it. They don't.
There really isn't anything more soul crushing than watching an animal go through some kind of problem. You know, like do they realize what's happening? Do they realize that this isn't normal? They don't. They just kind of think this is, you know, well, actually, okay, here's the thing is when animals get sick, I think they do realize that they are, because, you know, for example, there's a lot of animals that when they're about to die, they hide away. They're aware of the fact that they're about to pass away, and I think like cats do it.
Yeah.
Cats like to hide away somewhere when they're about to die.
It's sad. It's sad. I don't like finding out shit like that. Like I also found out, I think like, I don't know if it's cats. I know it's dogs, but cats might have it too, where like they get embarrassed if like they get a bad haircut. And like, really? I remember one time, my dog got like a bad haircut, and I was so sad because I remember hearing about that, how like some animals get like embarrassed if they get like a bad haircut, just like we do. And I was like, oh my God, like this poor dog like just went to go get a haircut, and now they feel fucking awful because they like just sat there and let them fuck their shit up. I was like,
that's so sad.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Do animals like recognize mirrors, or is it, because I know a lot of them don't. There's a lot of animals that they see a mirror and they think that must be like another animal, but I wonder if there are any that do.
I feel like domestic animals probably do, but like I feel like, have you seen that one YouTube video where like they put a mirror in the jungle and then like all these animals went up to it and were like, what is this?
I have seen that, yeah. Oh, okay. According to prevailing science, individuals of most species can't recognize their reflections as themselves. The only known exceptions are humans, oh, that's good to know, some great apes, and possibly dolphins, elephants, and magpies.
What's the greatest ape?
All animals within... The greatest ape is the bored ape.
That's the end of the podcast for today, guys. It was a good run. We had a good time. Had a lot of fun on this podcast.
Can you imagine if humans had the same amount of intelligence as we do now, but we couldn't recognize reflections? Like, we just can't compute the idea of a reflection. So every time we see a mirror, we're like, oh my God.
Well, then what would happen? Do you think the selfie would be invented then? Because then we'd be freaked out taking what am I taking a photo of?
No, yeah, I guess there wouldn't be any pictures, right? Because it's like...
You're like, what the hell?
Wow. I'm going to look up cool animal facts. I want to read out some cool animal facts. And let's
this could be like a weekly segment together. Every week we get one cool animal fact. We bring
this
it to
really
the
is
table.
The mental health episode. We're gonna make everyone really feel happy here.
Here's a pro tip, guys, to start off the mental health week. If you want to solve your problems and you can't, avoid them by looking up some cool animal facts to take your mind off things. So
exactly. Like, for example, Dalmatians are born without spots. They are born with plain white coats, with their first spots appearing after they are 1 week old.
Wow. And like the thing is, like, we would never have known that. We would never have known that unless we had a mental health week and talked about our mental problems. Another cool fact, there are lizards that can squirt blood from their eyeballs.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Why can they do that?
They restrict their blood flow to their head until the pressure builds up, rupturing the vessels in their eyelids. They do this as a defense mechanism to confuse their predators. Freaky!
See, I used to kind of do something like that when I was a kid.
Oh.
So basically what I would do is like I would do this, and I would force my cheeks out until I heard like something rupture on the side here. Like I would hear things like little like knots breaking, like I would do that as a kid.
Do you think like your brain?
Right now. But I can't do it. My lips aren't as tightly sealed anymore. I've become a little bit loose.
I don't want to do it. I feel like it's gonna like disconnect like the wires to my brain's gonna get loose. You feel like maybe your brain's
I can't do
loose?
it. It probably is a little bit loose. I can feel it bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I did look up scary animal facts because I thought it'd be funny to bring up a scary animal fact. Also,
that's very inappropriate.
Meerkats are actually baby killing beasts. it's a sentence of another fucking fact. Meerkats are baby killing beasts, which is actually that kind of ruins everything. It. I mean, yeah, I do believe it. I'm not gonna deny the meerkat manner, but I mean that kind of ruins meerkats for me.
A dog's sense of smell is 1,000 times greater than a human. Which, if you think about it that way, right? Does that mean farting around your dog is kind of like a attack?
Ooh, I know what you mean. I feel like that could be like some kind of chemical warfare.
What do you think about that clip of Tay farting?
That is honestly a great clip, and I'm glad that like the Tay fucking Twitch clips are being resurfaced more and more. I feel like we need to do more digging into that, but I think that might open up a new era of Twitch where people are just allowed to fart more on Twitch. Don't you think?
Would you participate?
Oh yeah, I don't know if it'd be detected. I've had on multiple occasions a fart on stream, and I'm like, I gotta make sure like this doesn't get detected. Like sometimes, even like if I'm in a call, like sometimes this is like a fucking Hooverr reveal. But sometimes when I'm in call and like I'm about to fart, sometimes I'll go like this, and I move away my microphone just in case. Or I go in Discord and I move up my voice sensitivity thing all the way so that it doesn't detect, but I don't have to mute. Because then people are like, "Why'd you mute?" Like I remember one time it happened. And I think somebody said like, "Why'd you mute?" And I was like, "Oh, like I didn't even realize. Like I just accidentally clicked the button. Like I didn't mean to mute, and I was just farting."
See, that's the thing about the aksel is you can just, there's a little mute button. Nobody knows you're muted. You didn't know right there that I was muted except for the fact that my mouth was moving, you know? So I was, oh my goodness. Hooverr, I can't hear you,
I
Hooverr.
was kidding. I don't have a aksel.
Oh my God, don't scare me like that again.
I have the Focusrite that you hate so dearly.
I have a Focusrite in a box put away in my closet.
Oh, yeah. Because we use that for the podcast.
We'll get you no, actually we have another one. The one that we used is like on my living room floor right now because I use it to film a bunch of stuff.
Oh damn.
That one's actually good. I like that one. I like that one a lot. But I forgot what I was gonna say. I was gonna like say something really. Oh yeah. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes I click mute, and then I just let it loose. Sometimes you gotta.
Wait, I actually have one cooking. Do you think I should let it go?
Let it go, man.
Could you hear that?
No.
I think it was too quiet. I went. Oh.
I'm gonna add in a sound effect that makes it sound really bad.
Add in the exact Tay fart. Add in the exact Tay fart. It's like, oh my.
Oh God.
His was like a shark though. Like his was like a genuine shark. Like that did not sound. It did not sound full, but like it sounded more solid than like a normal fart.
I mean, you could tell by his face that he got scared. I think he felt something. He was like, "Oh God, I don't know if that feeling is normal."
Oh,
Chica,
my leg. Chica, I farted. Chica, my bad. What do you think Tay ate that made him fucking fart like that?
I don't know, because I think you were there when I was going through Tay clips on my alt account.
Yeah.
And I found another clip of him farting, and it's just he does seem to really have some intense ones, kind of like my mom, you know. It's like those mom farts. That's kind of like what's happening.
Dude, it's so weird how like it's universal that like a mom fart is like a secret weapon that like all women have when they become moms. Like it's insane the amount of farts like I have heard and like smelt from my mom, and I'm like, this is like chemical warfare. Like this shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, literally, dude. Like it's fucking crazy. It's It's impressive, really. I think there was a time where I would always be like, when I was a teenager, I'd be like, oh my God, my mom is actually like trying to ruin my life. Like, this is disgusting that she would even do this around me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, the older I get, the more I'm like, well, I gotta respect it. You know what I mean? I have to respect it. I gotta say, like, I've always been kind of awkward about farting in front of other people. I think I've farted around somebody else maybe like 3 times in my life, to be honest with you. Fully real.
Really? 3 times?
Yeah. 3 times, and I can count them. One of them, okay, this is crazy, right?
First one.
One of them was when I was sitting in my old living room when I was a kid, and I was sitting on the piano, and I ripped ass, and it like echoed across the wood of the piano, and it was like, I think the loudest I've ever ripped ass.
Damn.
And it was in front of my dad, and he was like, "What is wrong with you?"
There definitely is something wrong with you if your fucking farts are echoing off of a goddamn piano. Not gonna lie, I've never even knew that was possible.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I didn't know either, but that's why it caught me so off guard when it was like, because it's a musical instrument, so I guess it's like made to echo sounds. So when it takes in any sort of sound, it just kind of spreads through the whole body of the instrument. And the second time was, I remember this so vividly. I was at a sleepover with one of my old friends, and this girl who was also a friend, actually, believe it or not.
Oh.
And I was just kind of like, I think I reached like some kind of like mental breakdown where I was like, listen, guys, I'm just gonna be honest, I have to rip ass. And then I just did it. And I just remember the girl being like, she like said my name. She was like, Aksel. And she was like kind of disappointed.
Aksel, why'd you do that? What the hell? I mean, I would too, to be fair. Like, I just feel like farting around certain people is fine. Like, if I like meet somebody for like the first time, it's gonna take like a year for me to be like, okay, I can fart around you. Like, it doesn't matter who. Like, it's just like at home, I can rip ass and I wouldn't care at all. But like, if I'm here, then like, I don't know. I feel like maybe sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
Yeah.
I don't want to like intrude and be like, hey guys, I'm gonna fart and rip ass, because then sometimes mine are like deadly. And like that is like one of the worst feelings on earth, is when you're like, I just need a fart right now, and then the people around you go like this, they go, and they put the shirt up, and it's like, oh damn, it was that bad. I was like, oh shit, my bad. So I've had
you
that
have the fart pass. You can fart around me. I don't mind.
You.
You can rip all the ass you need, man. Like, it's fine. I feel like I don't know. I don't know why I can't fart around people. It's like a problem I have. I would love to do it. I would love to try it out someday, but it's doesn't come easy for me for some reason. I also have a lot of like bathroom anxiety. I don't like when people can hear me going to the bathroom, which is like, dude, it was the worst when I was in the psych ward, because they don't let you lock the bathroom. Like,
oh yeah,
the bathroom door is always open. So like, I couldn't use the bathroom because at one point when I did try to use the bathroom, this girl just walked in on me because the door was open, and I was like, oh my God, man.
Occupado.
Like, I get it why you can't lock it, because, you know, obviously otherwise everyone would just lock themselves in there and you wouldn't fucking get access to them anymore. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. In my opinion, there should be like it should be one of those doors where you can lock it from the inside, but then a key opens it from the outside. You know,
I got you.
And then all the nurses just always have the keys. Did I just solve the mental health crisis? Yes, I did.
Or turn the psych wards into Five Nights at Freddy's. Just have cameras everywhere.
They kind of do, to be fair.
And then have the people be like, because don't you have like a person assigned to your room? Or is that like certain places? Yeah,
sometimes, yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I have somebody watching me. They get like an iPad and they can play like Five Nights at Freddy's of your life, and then like where is he? And like, oh, he's in the bathroom. Okay, but then I guess you could like obstruct the camera. So I don't know.
The way it worked in the psych ward that I went to was there were cameras in all of the rooms. Like, you were being watched 24/7. The only rooms that didn't have cameras were the bathrooms. So it was kind of weird, because when you're kind of like laying there sleeping, you're kind of aware of the fact that like somebody could be watching you right now. Like,
damn,
someone could be keeping an eye on you. And there were some rooms where they were like kind of these two rooms that were right next to the nurse kind of hangout building area room, where they had like a one-way window into the room. Oh.
That's why I was like starting to laugh, because I was like, I can feel another fart. And I was like, this one, I'd be like, this one, you're definitely gonna hear. Oh my god, dude, you should have seen my face when I looked over, because on the fucking thing that we record, it shows when like you can like when audio is being detected if it's like green or yellow. And when I farted, I looked over and I just saw the green bar go up. I was like, oh, you heard it.
Oh my god, that's incredible. That's like a new landmark in the history of our podcast. I think.
My god. I mean, I used my fart pass pretty quickly. You handed me it, and I've had like 2 farts since then. Oh.
I handed you it, and you went right to the fart store. Like that was no stop off or anything. I gotta respect it.
That
I feel like we're really. This is honestly like an incredible mental health episode, because we're breaking ground.
You were literally talking about the psych ward, and I went, just completely derailed everything.
Dude, I had such a farty roommate when I was in the psych ward. Like, I've told this story on stream before, but they at one point they put me on this. I don't remember the name of the medication, but it's a medication that's used for schizophrenia, but also in a lot of cases it's used for sleeping. It helps some people sleep. But what it did for me was induce basically sleep paralysis for the whole night. And I, for some reason, like I didn't tell anybody for like 5 nights. I was just kind of like, I was like, well, maybe it's just me getting used to it. But what would happen in those 5 nights was that like my roommate would think that I'm asleep, and then, but because I would look asleep, but it was kind of one of those things, your body is asleep, but sleep paralysis, basically your body's asleep, your mind is awake. And I could just hear him throughout the whole night going like, like he would literally like, he would do the fucking fart and moan. And I could tell that like, I could tell whenever a fart was coming, because he'd kind of like move his legs, and I could tell that he was like adjusting to get like the right angle. And then it would be like, and I'll be like, oh my Lord.
These are hitting you with the Matt Watson. That is insane.
I forgot he does that.
Oh,
Matt always does that. Whenever you go to public, he'll do like a little fake fart and then a moan sound, and he will do that over and over and over again. And when I was living with him for a couple weeks, we would go to Target every day, and he would do it every single time, and I never reacted. I literally never reacted even slightly, until like 2 weeks in. At one point, I was like, I think it's funny how you just don't. Did I steer another one?
No, I don't. I have another one brewing, but I have not done it again. I have not. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like sitting on one, and I'm like, do I do it again? But I'm like, no, I can't. I just moved my fucking microphone, I think.
Oh, okay. I'm becoming like paranoid.
Hey, my hands are up. I'll you'll know when I'm about to fart again, because if you're talking and I just go, like if I like you do like a little face, and like it's because it might happen.
Little Josh face.
Yeah, but right now it's kind of gone. Might come back though.
The Josh face kind of is like I just farted face.
I pooped today. Josh face.
I will tell you what I'm good at though. I'm good at being a little silent killer.
Yeah. I'm not.
I do.
I feel like every single time there's a silent killer. You always got sound. Well, no, not even that. I just feel like silent killer to me is like, okay, you farted, and it's either it's silent and you can't smell it, or it's silent but then you don't get blamed for it. But I feel like every single time with a fart, I always got blamed, just because I'm like, I'm that guy, I'm the fart guy. You look at me, they go, he probably farted. Like, you're not gonna look at like fucking like other people and be like, oh, maybe he farted. You're gonna look at me and be like, okay, yeah, this is the fucking guy that farted on the airplane or some shit. Like, I can't get away with that. Which, I mean, I do fart on airplanes. I don't care. It makes me gassy.
I don't know if I've gone to the bathroom on the airplane and destroyed that thing.
You
Like
pooped on an
pray
airplane?
to God. I have, yeah.
Damn. What flight was it?
Well, it was probably one of like my flights to America where it's like a 10-hour flight.
That's what I was going to say.
Like when it calls for it, it calls for it.
Mm-hmm. Because I think
actually,
go ahead.
What I did, it was actually, so I flew from San Diego to Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I flew from San Diego to Germany, and then on the flight from Germany to Estonia, it was like I needed to do this right now.
Yeah.
Which you really think about it at that point, you're kind of like you're a transporter. Like you transported this toxic waste from one side of the planet to the other. I've thought about that a lot. It's kind of interesting to think about.
Or like you've pooped over the ocean. You know what I mean? Like you in a normal circumstance, you probably wouldn't even be here, but then you're just above the ocean and you pooped in this like fucking vessel.
Mile High Club, but a lot less sad.
Mile High.
A lot more sad, actually.
Yeah,
a lot less sad.
I don't even think that's a club. I feel like that's just more like a secret meeting. Like, yeah, I pooped on a plane before, but I have not.
So you never pooped on a plane?
I don't think so. Like, I was actually trying to think. I'm like, did I? I think I'm. If I had to have, it would have been from like a fucking 10-hour flight, like you said, and like probably would have been like if I was flying back from Brighton. But like I think on that flight, I remember because it was just me on the flight. I like got my own row, and I slept for like majority of it because I was like, dude, 10 hours on a fucking like plane, like what am I gonna do? Like I don't have anything to do, and so then I like slept. And then I remember one time I was like, because like I was one of those people where like I fully was laying down 3 seats, and like my head was like kind of poking out the side. And I remember like the flight attendants were like going around and they like hit my head and like, oh, you need to like scoot in more. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I just like woke up and I was like, I think it was like 2 hours left of the flight and I watched the movie.
That's so funny. Have you ever had like really bad flight attendants, like kind of like mean ones?
No. Only thing I've ever had happen on a flight that was like crazy was, I don't know where I was going to, but I had an experience where I was flying somewhere and then the person to my left was like this old dude, and he was like he was one of those people that, like, laid back his seat right away, and it was like all the way back on this lady. It was like all the way back. But then it got crazy when the lady was like, "Hey, can you please scoot it up?" And like I was like, "No." Like he did like some like mean shit. Like he was being an asshole. Like it definitely was a situation where like, "Hey, you can just scoot it up a little bit. Like it's not that big of a deal. You don't need to fucking lay all the way back on this fucking lady. She has no room now." And then it got to a point where this lady started like hitting on the seat and was like kicking the seat like a kid, and was like,
"Oh Lord,
like move." And then they got into a fight and were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And she like the guy turned around and like I think he called her a bitch, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on? Like I've never seen this before." And it's right to my left. Like I'm on the outside seat, she's right there, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on? Like this is insane. I don't want this." Like in my head, I was like, if this gets like too much, then I know that like they could just land the plane and like kick the guy off. So I was like, I swear to fucking God, if they don't get it together and like solve this fucking problem, and I like, because I don't want to have this fucking plane like stop in like Michigan and I have to be like, ladies and gentlemen, we have to fucking stop our flight. We need to kick somebody off. And I'm like, I don't want this to happen. So then these other 2 people noticed it was going on and like went up to the flight attendant and were like, yeah, like this guy is kind of being a dick to this lady. Like he just kind of scooted his whole seat back and is on this lady, and they're like freaking out. Can you do something? And they're like, yeah, okay, we can do something. And they like talk to the people and I'm like, can you just scoot it up? He's like, I just want her to stop being rude. And it was like, oh my God, dude, like you do not have the position to be like, you need to stop being rude when you're literally like, hey bitch, like you can't just like de-escalate from calling her a bitch to then being like, I don't want her to be rude. Like there's a nice way to ask, because she did ask beforehand, like, hey, can you not, put it all the way on me before escalating it. But then he moved the seat back up, and I think at one point like the other people that like talked about it like sent like it was like a fucking movie I thought I was watching where like they wrote a note on like the fucking little napkins that you get for like your cup or like your drink, and like they wrote on it and they handed it to her, and she's like, "Thank you." And I was like, "What the fuck did they write in that note?" But
what the hell?
Yeah.
That's interesting. It was like a little pick me up.
I know. It was like they're like, "Hey, you're maybe it was like, hey, you're not in the wrong. Like we saw what happened." But yeah, I saw that happen, and that was like the worst flight thing that happened. But I never had like bad flight attendants.
They probably wrote some shit like sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And then she was like, "Oh, thank you so much."
I can't read this. I'm just gonna throw this in the trash.
I do feel like when you go on a plane, everyone's like mental age goes down by like 20 years. Like everyone gets a little bit younger. Everyone's trying to relive their glory days of when they could get away with being a lot less mature. Like when we flew back from New York City, there was this was just kind of an unlucky moment where me and Weston were sitting next to this gentleman who was probably like 6'4", 6'5". He clearly, doesn't have a lot of space. And then the man in front of him, directly in front of him, might be one of the tallest people I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like 7 feet tall. Like, he was crazy. I didn't even fully understand it until the plane had landed and he stood up. But that motherfucker was tall. Like, he was like hunching over in the plane. Like, he couldn't walk up straight. Like, it was. Damn. That was nuts. But basically what happened was the very tall man in front of our friend sitting next to us, who was the 6'5" gentleman, he let his seat down, and then the 6'5" guy is like, it turned into like a fucking Mr. Bean movie where like the guy wasn't really saying anything, but he kept like raising his arms up, like,
yeah.
And then like whenever like the guy in front of him would adjust himself, he'd be like,
oh, that is the worst. That is actually the fucking worst. Literally,
sometimes he would look at us and kind of like give us a look of like,
yeah.
I'd be like,
yeah, I feel like I've done that before too, where like somebody leans their seat back and I'm like I'll do like a little head thing. I'm like, oh, and like if somebody else sees it, I'm like, oh, it's just a typical plane.
Yeah, I've definitely done that before. I'm not really a big fan of people letting their seat back without maybe trying to choreograph it with the person behind them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of the nice thing to do.
Especially on like a short flight, like, dude, if it's a 2-hour flight, do you really need to fucking be like, and like fucking like lean your whole seat back so then the person behind you has the worst 2 hours of their life? Like, just like fucking like sit like a normal person. Like, I don't understand it. I'm a big guy, and I don't. No, literally. I think I've laid my seat back maybe like once, and that's because nobody was behind me. And like, I don't like doing it when there's people behind me, because then I just feel like a douche. It's like hey, I'm better than you. I'm gonna do it.
It is kind of crazy how much better it feels though when the seat's a little bit lean back. It's like, oh,
yeah, because you can kind of stretch out more.
Yeah, exactly. Stretch out more, kind of rest yourself. It's just a great time, honestly. Like, I get it. Honestly, fuck everybody else. Let your seat back.
Yeah. If it's an old person, I say go for it. But like, if it's young, then like, come on.
If it's young, get ready to fight.
Yeah, they will probably like shank you, maybe yell at you.
Exactly.
They'll probably put you on like TikTok, and it'll be like a big thing. Do you see like, I don't know the exact details, but like, did you see somebody got like, it was, I just saw this from like stand-up comedy Twitter, because I was following Tom Segura, who was talking about it, where like somebody on TikTok was like getting canceled because they didn't like swap seats with like a family or some shit. Like they had like I think they were like in private, or not private, they were in first class or something, and they're like, hey, can you like swap seats with this family and like main cabin? And they're like, no. And then people are like, you're an asshole. Like, what the fuck? Why would you switch with them? And I'm like, be real. Like, would you have switched seats? I probably wouldn't have.
So the seat that we were switching with would be in like economy, or would it be?
It'd be a lesser thing.
That.
Yeah. Like, I don't.
Fuck that shit.
Like, no. Like I don't understand that at all. Like, Tom Segura said like some shit like, Just plan your flights better. Like that's literally all it comes down to is like, how do you not plan your flights better if you have like a family or some shit where like the whole problem of like, hey, can I swap seats with you? Realistically, most times should not be happening. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you should be able to know when to book a flight, and if you don't get that seat, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's no harm in asking if you're kind of providing an equal value or greater product.
Exactly.
But the thing is like if somebody says no, you got to respect it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
it. Like you shouldn't dwell on it. It's so stupid, especially when it's like, dude, if I'm buying a first class ticket, you're gonna have to rip that ticket from my cold dead hands. Okay, you're not getting access to that shit. Especially when the fucking option is, oh, go to like. I would imagine like, okay, demanding someone to change from first class to like economy to me is just a completely bonkers idea. But even business class, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
extra room. If I had extra comfort on like a Delta flight, like if I'm paying more to get this seat than a normal seat, there is no thought in my mind where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna switch. Like you're gonna have to be like. You're going to have to do some real convincing for me to be like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice my leg room to probably get like middle seat in a fucking like 4-hour long flight. Like, I'm
just going to be upfront. You'd have to take my life. Oh. You'd have to kill me.
Oh.
I would not move out of the seat unless I was killed. You and your family would have to gang up against me and murder me on that airplane to get me out of that seat.
Do you think that would happen? Do you think it would come to that where they're like, I'm just gonna kill this guy?
I mean, it came close to with that one like doctor that got like the airline was like, we overbooked. Somebody's got to get off, and then they like beat the shit out of that guy. Dude, like, what the hell was that? You know,
that flight was going. I don't know if it was going to or it was something involved. It involved Louisville, where I'm from. Like, I remember I was like, what the fuck? This is awful. And then it was like Louisville, Kentucky, and I was like, oh my god. Like, of course, it's got to involve Louisville, Kentucky somehow. Fucking awful.
That's how I feel every time an Estonian does anything. I'm like, oh, of course, my people are involved.
Of course, Estonians.
Well, I guess this is a good time to segue to our mental health segment where we can read out some of our great people are begging for help. It's a rough time out there. People need help, and we're here to help.
We are here to help, and BetterHelp. If you would like to sponsor the podcast, we would take money from you, so these people can actually get therapists.
We would.
So
I would take money. I would take money from anyone. So really, anybody listening,
really anybody. Rachel Legends, you know, if you got a couple G's 100%. for us, then we'll take some.
100%.
Okay, you want to?
I have a couple pulled up here.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay.
I'll pull mine back up.
So, the first one that we'll be dealing with was sent in by Katie, who said, "How to bounce back after losing a meaningful friendship." And I think this is like, you know, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. That someone you were close with, there's a lot of people where you in the moment you're kind of thinking, well, this person's probably going to be here forever, but there's a lot of times where I think life kind of does its way, and you lose touch with a lot of people that you probably wouldn't if you had a choice. I would say that, like, really, I don't know. The way that I look at it is like, you know, this has happened to me plenty over the course of my life. Sometimes, you know, you get into fights with friends. Sometimes it's just like a thing of you grow apart or you just become too busy to talk to each other. And both times it's really sad, but what I tell myself is that it's kind of inevitable in life, and you shouldn't kind of see it as, you know, I think there's a lot of friends where sometimes you just kind of split up for a bit and then you meet back, you round back around, and you continue as if nothing left. And that's really, I think, what's helped me. And it has happened before too, where you lose touch with some really great people. And there's always that awkwardness, I think, in that moment where you're not talking, where I think in a lot of cases, both sides are kind of holding off, reaching out to each other, where it's just kind of like, why should I be the one, you know? But honestly, there's a lot of times where it kind of is worth it to be that party that first reaches out because you don't know. Maybe the other party also wants to talk to you, but they're a little bit shy. Maybe they feel a little bit awkward or ashamed of something. So you can help break the ice and kind of like mend it. I don't know. That's really all I have to say about that.
Also, I'm just going to point out for a fact, like, I'm not laughing at this. I've just also, like, I thought for like a good 4 seconds, I was just going to rip ass in the middle of that fucking meaningful like discussion, because I was like, I hope to God I can just save face and like have it not pick up. But I feel like that actually is like good advice though. Like, I feel like realizing like at some point, like, people are just gonna grow up, and like you may not exactly like break up with a friend or like have like a friendship end, but like at some point, like as life goes on, you're just gonna have more responsibilities, and people are gonna be doing more things and doing shit that like you aren't doing now. And I feel like, you know, you're in like a good spot sometimes where like you have a lot of experiences with your friends, or you can do a lot more with your friends, and like there's gonna be times where like you just can't, and like you're busy, and like maybe there's work, or like maybe they have like relationships they're doing, or you know, they have a kid, you know, that's something in the future, you know, like at some point if they're kids, then like you probably won't see those people for like years. But you know,
people get busy, man.
They do get busy. And you know, I think if it's a good friendship, you can balance that out and you can stay friends throughout it. But you know, if you end up missing out on a couple of friendships, or you have some friendships slip through the cracks or whatever, and you grow apart, then I think, I mean, it's obviously sad, and it's definitely something that like I'm not going to sit here and be like, grow up, and you know, it happens to everyone. But like, it happens, and you just got to realize, you know, that's life.
You got to pick yourself up and move on.
That's on. Really fucking move on. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. Get a therapist. Like, oh my God. I'm not getting paid for this.
It's a matter of, I don't know. There's also those like friendships of, I think, to be honest with you, in the last year, this is something that I've kind of been dealing with, where like I've accidentally grown apart from people because I go through like a little depressive episodes where I think I just don't, I become a little bit harder to reach, and I don't talk to people a lot. And there's a lot of people where understandably, I think they take it a little bit personally, where they feel a little bit sad and offended that you don't check up on them or talk to them. And you know, I know that there's probably a lot of people that have gone through that or are going through that, and all I can really say is you just got to hit them up. I know it feels bad and awkward at first, but if this is like a friendship that you want to get back on track, you just got to hit them up and say, "Hey, sorry, I've just, you know, been going through some shit, and I'm kind of picking myself up now." And if they want to, you know, continue with you again, that's great. If they don't, the way I look at it is like, you know what? It is what it is. It's sad, but what am I going to do about it? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, just
do you have any of the replies?
Somebody said something about like, I don't know, I'm doing so terrible, and I'm just like, move on, grow up.
Yeah, true. That's real.
No, I'm just pulling it up again. Somebody did say something about like creative shit. Did you see that one? Oh yeah, how to deal with no motivation to do anything and just constant boredom. I talk to my mom about that probably like once a month. Honestly, probably like 3 times a month at this rate, where I will have a call with my mom. I'm like, I'm literally so bored and I have no motivation to literally do anything, even though like I know deep down I want to do like creative projects, because that's the thing that like makes me the happiest. And like streaming makes me happy, and like just being able to like use outlets to make people laugh makes me happy. And I feel like, you know, my mom's always told me that like, yeah, like I get that you have no motivation, but sometimes you just need to do it. And it's like it sounds like I'm like being like, oh, you just got to do it, like fucking get over yourself. But like sometimes like you just can't wait for motivation, which I've realized that's the hard truth of some of my problems, is like I sit here and I'll wait for motivation for shit, and then I'm like, why am I not doing anything? I don't have any motivation. Where is the motivation going to come from? And then I realized like sometimes you just got to push yourself like just a little bit, or like you just got to do something to get the engine running, and then once you get running again, then you know, like shit will become more easier to get motivated to do, and it'll be less hard to fucking sit there and be like, oh, I don't know what to do, or I'm not motivated, because I feel like sometimes it's just that initial start that you have where like you don't want to do it without motivation, which I understand is fucking hard because it's like probably one of my biggest problems. But sometimes with certain things, you just gotta try it without the motivation, and then
it'll snowball.
It will snowball.
It'll snowball.
Exactly.
I heard some really good advice about this recently, where I'm like a pretty big serial procrastinator.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of killing, but that's for another episode. But so I watched this video by this random person. It had like millions of views, and I was kind of like curious to see. I've never watched a lot of self-help videos, so I was a little bit curious to see like what kind of advice they give, and it was actually pretty solid advice. It was just someone kind of like talking about it from their own perspective, someone that actually has gone through shit like this. And she said how when you have a lot of things to do and you're not doing them, and instead you're kind of procrastinating, but in that time you are doing something. Like you are it's easy to say like, oh, I'm just not doing anything, but in a lot of times when I'm like I'm procrastinating, I'm like, well, I'm like listening to music, or I'm doing that, I'm doing this. You need to ask yourself like, what motivated me to do those things instead? Like why was I more attuned to do those rather than the tasks that I have to do? And then you got to ask yourself, what would motivate me to do the things that I actually need to do?
Exactly.
And what I don't know, like it's you kind of need to try to adjust your own like workflow to yourself, because I feel like if you just kind of try to go into working with the idea of like, I just got to do it, 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 I just got to do it. It might seem a little bit overwhelming. So it might seem like you're taking on more than you can chew, really. So I've recently become pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how I made this change, but I've recently started doing a lot more work, and it is a case of you have to like, if you start doing a little bit, it will snowball, just because you've already like done. Once you've done a little bit, your brain kind of goes, well, might as well do the rest of it.
Exactly.
Like, why not, right?
It gets into the flow of things again.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to creative stuff, especially, it's like, I think you kind of need to show your mind how fun it can be, because I think when you haven't really worked on something in a while, you forget that it's a very rewarding process. It's very rewarding to create something, and then you watch it back and you're kind of like, oh, wait a minute, that's actually kind of cool. And that dopamine you receive, I think that's really what kind of gets the engines fucking flowing, because that's what it's been for me recently. It's just been just kind of forcing myself to take the first step, and then all the other steps come naturally after that, I think.
Exactly. Just do it, Nike.
Exactly. Let me see. I have a couple pulled up, but let me see if there's like any ones that I missed, because I'm kind of curious. Someone said, I'm actually doing really well right now, but thanks.
Okay, Stompa. I'm glad you're doing good.
Yeah, literally, dude. Any advice on getting yourself out more? I always see my arrows hanging out / doing something interesting, and as much as I want to hang out like that too, I just kind of end up rotting in my bed all day. The thing about going outside is that whenever you kind of stay locked in your apartment, I think it's very easy to get into that mindset of like, oh, I really don't want to go outside. I really don't want to. But every time I think of all the times where I forced myself to go out and how glad I was that I went out, it becomes a lot easier. It just feels like there's this kind of like devil-like figure living inside of you, brewing up all this negativity and kind of trying its best to make sure that you don't get anywhere in life. And that's why you kind of have to just be like, no, fuck it. I'm not listening to this shit today. I want to go outside. I'm gonna go play football with my friends, which is, I'm sure that a lot of you guys do.
Yup. Everybody here. I'd probably say like 95% of our audience probably does that. But yeah.
Yeah, it actually says on our analytics that 95% of our listeners They're not male. They're not female. They're not non-binary. They're football
They're
players.
Footballers.
So,
hey, way.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you can't let that voice take over. You gotta beat the shit out of it, man. You gotta take control. You gotta take charge.
Because it's just a voice, and you are you, and you can conquer anything. That's a fact. I truly believe that, like, if you let yourself get down, you will be down. But if you let yourself grow and beat your fucking inner demons, then you will be able to do anything. Truly. Facts.
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
Somebody said, my mental health is rapidly declining and I feel myself getting worse and worse. How do I fix that? I have been on like a whirlwind of like emotional and like mental problems for like the past, like, I don't know. I'd probably say like last 2 months, I've really been trying to get over it, or like really trying to tackle things, because I just realized it got worse. Where like, I mean, I've talked to Aksel about it, but like I had like fucking smoking weed problems where like I was fucking smoking like every day just so I can, you know, function or like be like, hey, I'm fine, I'm doing whatever. And then I had like a one time I was smoking weed and had a panic attack. And then that kind of woke me up, and I was like, I don't know if I exactly want to keep smoking weed because I'm scared this is going to happen again. And recently I did smoke weed for the first time in a while, and it did happen again. And so it's definitely something where I realize, you know, my anxiety has been fucking off the charts bad. And it's something that like I realized I've just put off for a while because I just try to normalize it. But I've realized that, you know, my mental health has taken a fucking huge plummet, and, you know, I needed to fix it. And I think, you know, as stupid or maybe easy as it may sound, I feel like the thing that like really has helped me the most is just been like keeping track of like what I do every day, and realize like, okay, you know, like what do I do in my life that makes me feel good? Or like what's something in my life that like, you know, I should maybe cut out or like not do, or what's something I could do to improve myself and whatever. But like, I mean, that's just something for me that like I've been doing. But I feel like overall, like mental health is so different. But I genuinely feel like, you know, just trying to take like as little steps as needed, like as possible. Like as much as it like may seem stupid, it adds up over time. Where like the littlest things can like change your fucking mood, or it can change your mental health. Where like one thing my mom tells me to do is like, you know, clean up your room. And it's something that's so hard for me to do because like I don't want to fucking clean my room when I'm depressed or anxious or whatever. And then so my mom says, just pick up one thing a day. It doesn't have to be like the whole room has to be clean. If you just pick up one thing a day and you like just get that one thing done, you'll feel like way better than if it just wasn't clean at all. And, you know, I feel like sometimes mental health seems like a big problem that you need like a big solution for it. But I think that going at it with like smaller solutions over time, and like incrementally like increasing like, you know, things to take care of your mental health or things to better your mental health, it can do a lot better for yourself than worrying about like what the big solution to it is. Because I mean, for me, for a while, I thought like my anxiety is like, I mean, my anxiety is my biggest thing. Like it's the thing that like I'm still facing. I still don't have all the answers to. I'm just beginning the journey to fucking try to fix it. But it's just one of those things where I used to think like I need this big thing to happen and then it'll go away and I'll be good again. But it's not that easy. And I think that, you know, looking at it not as a big problem and looking at it as a problem that you can conquer and tackle with like small steps over time, you know, it may suck that you might want it like tap the fucking end overnight, but, you know, I think if you just do something little every day to like try to improve your mental health can make a big difference. I think that, you know.
No, yeah, that's the key, is because when you're in that spiral, I think you get overwhelmed very easily. That's pretty much what happened to me when I came back from the US in the summer. I was like, I had a bunch of like, I was dealing with a lot of like personal issues when I was in the US, and I couldn't properly deal with them because I was so far away from everything. So I had this moment of like, I think I had like a good 2 months of pretty much just completely avoiding anything to do with my mental health and anything that was going on in my life. I was pretty much on 2 months of copium is what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was very clearly falling apart in that 2 months. So when I came home, it was just a total collapse. I think it was just total like, it all just like came falling down like a sack of bricks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, I feel like I reached like the similar point where, you know, I've been dealing with this for so long now that I always have these like patterns that I learn when I'm doing better, where I'm like, okay, I realize that this is like a self-sabotaging behavior. I won't do any more of this. And like, I'll try to prevent this. I'll, you know, like with cleanliness, the kind of the reality that I've come to accept is that because I am a person that is susceptible to depression spirals, I, especially when I'm doing good, it's something that I have to keep aware of and make my life as easy as possible for when that does happen. And you know, it's like the problem with depression is that when you fall into the midst of it, you do so much self-sabotaging shit that just makes it so much worse for yourself. And you can't, it's so hard to not do it. Like if you don't keep your room clean and you just kind of sleep in your room, you're rotting in there, and you look around you and there's just like a mess everywhere. Dude, it makes it feel so much worse. So, you know, I went through that for like a month basically, where I was just procrastinating all the time, just cleaning my room. There was like fucking, you know, my suitcase that I got home from the US with, that was on the floor, and I didn't like pack in the clothes or anything for like 2 months. That I literally just I didn't touch it because I couldn't do it. But then little by little, and this is on top of what your mom said about the picking up one thing a day. It helps that when you are in the midst of all this, for example, when you order Uber Eats, right, and you eat it, and then you develop, you try to teach yourself this behavioral pattern of, okay, I've eaten it, now this bag, I should deal with this bag right now, because if I don't deal with this bag right now, it's gonna sit in that fucking corner for like 2 weeks. Like it's not gonna go anywhere, you know. And that helped me a lot, because there's a lot of preventative shit you can do that I think will make your life a lot easier. And it's just, it helps a lot. And this is something that therapy will help a lot with, but it's also, I think, something that you can help yourself with, is becoming more aware of your patterns and your spirals. If you're more aware of what's happening with you, then it's a lot easier to take steps to help yourself, because that was my problem for like the first few years of my depression. Was like, I didn't have any idea what was going on with me. So anytime I'd go for a spiral, it'd be like I would strap myself into a roller coaster and be like, let's go, baby. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, literally.
But once you develop that awareness and knowledge, because, you know, now I'm at a point where if I am kind of like depressed, or I'm going through things, I'm pretty much aware, like, okay, these things that I'm thinking, these like, because I go through a lot of moments of when I feel low, I feel I always kind of feel like I'm like so annoying to people, like, oh, I feel like I should just like keep my distance because I don't want to bother people when I'm like depressed, you know what I mean? I'm just like I'm like a bad fucking I'm a bad person to be around because I'm just negative. And you know, I went through that cycle enough where I'm like, okay, this is just something that I do all the time, where I'm like, okay, I'm sad, so I think everybody hates me. It's like, it's stupid. It's really stupid. But yeah, that's I don't know. I honestly forgot the question at this point, but I spammed a bunch of fucking whatever trivia in there about depression. So
you are your own worst enemy, and realizing that can help you a ton, I feel like, to summarize.
Exactly.
You are the problem, but you know, you are the solver too. And you know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you don't, and you're just actually asking us, and in that case, you know, sorry.
There's a person in there that's waiting to blossom. Okay, you are not you are not your depression. You are yourself, and you will strive, and you will prosper. I think there's a lot of people out there that I myself personally am a very confidence dependent person. I think you can tell any day of the week that you see me, like it'll depend on if I'm having like a day where I feel very confident or if it's a day where I don't feel very confident.
Same.
It'll change my whole like outlook on everything, you know? Like there are days where I'll go live and it's just not a great confidence day for me, and you can kind of tell where I'm not really doing as many jokes because I'm probably like, oh, I'll never be funny again.
Yes. It really is like that though. So, it's like it sucks how like the fucking how like depression and anxiety will do that too, where you're just like, you know, even though I've literally done something my entire life, or I've, you know, been able to make jokes or whatever, and like literally one day you'll just be like, I'm never funny. Like this is it for me. Like I'm never gonna be able to make a joke. I'm never gonna be able to make somebody laugh. I'm just a waste of space and everyone hates me. And then it's just like, nope, it's not. It's just you. That's just how you're thinking that one day. And it sucks.
Does it tie in the same way for you where like, I feel like there is this like little demon in the back of my mind that is like, all your value equates to how funny you are.
Yeah.
Like that, they're literally in my brain. I'm like, if I'm not funny, then I'm useless.
Yeah. I mean, that's why like I always get scared of the idea of like me genuinely like losing all my weight, because I mean, it's not obviously like every single person that loses their weight isn't funny anymore. But like, I feel like there's like that like weird, you know, thing that does happen to people. And I feel like I realize why. It's because like I definitely use my like humor and my comedy to like my biggest strength. Cause like I sometimes just don't feel like I have that much to offer other than the fact like I am just really funny. And so then when you do lose weight and you're like more seen as attractive to some people, then you realize you don't have to be as funny. So then people just like don't be as funny. But like that's like my biggest fear is like if I lose all my weight and then like I get this new kind of like boost of confidence where I'm like, hey, I'm feeling and looking good. Like I won't be funny anymore. Yeah. So then I'm always just like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of me losing it all just for me to like have people be like, yeah, I miss Hooverr when he was fat. You know, Hooverr when he was fat was way more funny. Cause then like, I mean, obviously I'm not the best example of it is also the worst example of it is like Greek, because Greek literally like lost all of his weight. And then there's a moment where everyone was like on his side and we're like, yeah, you're looking good, Greek. You're doing better and all that. But then he also like had the arc where he was like, I fucking hate women. And then people were like, oh, boo. But, you know, it's also just one of those things too, where it's like, you know, that's something in the back of my brain where I feel like I'm going to have that arc if I do lose weight, or if I, you know, start working out or whatever and ate healthy, is that I want to be funny anymore. But in reality, it's just more so one of those things where you got to realize, you know, hey, I just can't like switch up that much.
Greek's case is really fascinating to me because I think it kind of his weight loss kind of shows the negative effects of what happens with the way that our society attaches so much of a person's worth to their weight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's always like it's all for like so long, and it still is like very, very common of how like you got to be skinny or you got to be like super fit and buff. Like that's the goal, right? That's the goal, and it should be for everyone. Where I think what it did for him was he did the unattainable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He went from the chubby guy to the really fucking buff and strong guy. And he finally felt like, oh my God, now I'm going to get all this validation from society, because everyone's always like judging overweight people, being like, oh, you got to lose weight. You got to do this. You got to do that.
Exactly.
And then you reach that point, and I think having such a huge change in the way that people view you, I think it's a lot to process in your brain.
Yeah.
And I think his like downward spiral was literally just like, I think it started from that point where he realized like, okay, I'm like really buff and fit now, and everyone's gonna fucking love me. And then I don't know how it spiraled all into that, but because I mean that was like with Greek, I think it was especially bad because I remember, you know, when he was like first big on Twitch with like Tyler One and shit, literally everyone would just constantly be talking about his weight.
Yeah,
and I think what's really shitty about being in an environment like that is, I remember him always like talking about like, yeah, I want to lose weight. And then he would try to lose weight And losing weight is a fucking hard journey, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Any sort of like fucking workout journey, it's really difficult because you got to be like super, super consistent with yourself.
Exactly.
So then what it turned into was a bunch of these like viewers being like, oh, he's never going to do it. Like he just keeps saying this over and over again, how he's going to lose weight, but he's never doing it. He's never going to do it, which I think in his mind probably set off this kind of fire that when he eventually did do it, also contributed to him being like, fuck everybody,
Yeah.
I'm the fucking greatest.
Yeah.
So that's all kind of like a symptom of how stupid it is, how much like of a person's value and worth we put into their fucking appearance and weight and shit.
Yeah.
I think it's so stupid and outdated. I think anyone's journey with their appearance, their weight, their body should be their personal journey. I don't think anyone else should fucking give a shit.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's really all it is. It's your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's your journey. Do whatever the fuck you want. You know?
Exactly. It's just crazy. Like, it is just one of those things where I realize, like, it's hard to, like, it sounds fucked up in a way, but, like, it's honestly hard not to change when you lose weight because it's fucking crazy how people would treat you completely differently for losing the weight than if you didn't lose the weight. Like, it's just weird. Like, I feel like it really shouldn't have happened like that, because if it didn't happen like that, then most of these people that like lose all the weight and then start getting validation for their looks or whatever, then they wouldn't, like, it wouldn't be this cycle. Obviously, I mean, like, it depends from person to person, whatever. And like, it obviously, you know, I don't think it should exactly end up with a Greek being like, women should stay in the kitchen. That doesn't equate to that. I think that's just him being a fucking piece of shit. But you know, it is just crazy how it's like, I could be like this today, and then if I lost like 150 pounds, people be like, oh, congrats on the weight loss. And it's like, yeah, that's great. But then you do start getting like looked at differently. Like it is just like, it is just hard to like be able to process all that at once. And that's like something I've always been like afraid of possibly happening. I mean, I don't exactly think like I would lose all the weight and they're like, oh, the white boy of the month is Hooverr this month because he lost all his weight or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't exactly think that. But it is just like, it's something where like, you know, if you lose weight, you do get a different viewpoint from people in society. And, you know, it's like, it's just kind of crazy how like you can change.
Fucking conventionally attractive people, they will always get like, when a conventionally attractive person walks in a room, it's always very different than to like when an average Joe motherfucker walks in. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like everyone will approach attractive people more. It's kind of like this weird thing where like, I think there was definitely a time where like I felt like this would happen a lot when I was a teenager, where my own self-confidence was really low, but I felt like I had a lot of really attractive friends, and there was a lot of times where like I would go to things with my more attractive friends, and I felt like people were just talking to them more, and they were like hanging out with them more because they were just, I don't know, they were cooler than me.
They're just
in that
good
sense.
looking, and they're like, hey, you're cool because you're good looking. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a little bit of like an unfortunate thing, but I mean, what I will say about that is like, I don't want to leave that off on like this kind of like fucking pessimistic, message. What I will say is there are so many groups of people out there that don't see people as that. You know what I mean? They don't value based on your appearance. They don't value based on your weight, your fucking gender, your whatever. It's literally like, I think Prezzo and Stonepar recently said this, how like our little friend group that we have, they're really happy because like in our friend group, we just don't move like that. You know what I mean? We don't point out stupid shit. We don't fucking create a hierarchy based on appearance and shit. And that does exist. Like you can find those people. If there's anyone that feels like they're in this situation, you are far from a hopeless situation. You will find your people if you haven't found them yet. You will. It's just, you got to give it time, especially when you're young, man. You know, because when you're in high school, man, in high school, everything's so temporary.
Oh my God.
Most of the people around you, they probably will not be around you when you're older. You know, like you'll find people that more fit you, because another great thing is once you get out of high school, everyone's just more out of their shell, and it's way easier to identify people where it's like, okay, I want to be around these kinds of people more than the other ones, you know? So The world can be a good place, okay? There's a lot of evil and there's a lot of shit going on in the world, but it can be a good place, and you should never give up hope on that.
Exactly. That is something I also wanted to bring up, is like, as much as I do think that in my head sometimes, where I'm like, if I lost all the weight, everyone's just going to think me differently. That is just like exactly what we've been talking about. It's like, it's just kind of in my head, you know, and it sucks. And, you know, it's something I'm dealing with, but, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, exactly. Like, not everyone in life is going to be shallow and only like you for your looks. And if they do, then, you know, it's one of those things where like you shouldn't be hanging around them to begin with, because that shouldn't be their main priority. It should be about who you are rather than like what you look like or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, that's the end of this episode. We've really covered all bases, haven't we?
We really have. We really have solved. I don't like, honestly, like, I don't want to like be too like in my own head or like to have too big of an ego, but I think we solved mental health. Like, I don't think like
we solved mental health by normalizing farts.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was a big point. And I think like us talking about, I think like if you do have another mental problem, just watch this episode again, probably, because like I think we got it all.
Exactly.
We got it all covered. But yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much for listening. Leave a like on this video if Hooverr is the GOAT.
And leave a comment if you think Aksel is the GOAT as well. Oh.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. We'll catch you next week.
See you later. Bye.